So you want to train like a blind crippled dude, huh? Well, you come to the right place. Actually, just joking about the crippled part. Although, if you watch my last video, I talked about my issues with chronic pain and fibromyalgia, so part of it's a little bit true, but, I could still get around. My name is James, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be going over one of my workouts for my new 4-day-a-week full body split, and I'm going to be showing me performing the exercises while I discuss them. So you may be wondering, what are my qualifications for discussing training? Well, I've been training for over 2 decades now, and I've put on about 100 pounds since then, most of it being muscle. And I have very bad genetics for putting on muscle, so I'd like to think I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. I recently turned 39, and I have to say my body is probably the best it's ever looked in my life. I've also basically tried every type of workout and training split under the sun, so I have a lot of experience. I'm also a certified personal trainer and have done loads of research over the years as far as anything related to fitness, exercise execution, nutrition, and again, everything related to exercise in general. So lately I've been doing about 5 to 6 week mesocycles where I'll train for about 5 or 6 weeks using progressive overload, meaning every workout, I'm trying to add more weight or reps to an exercise. And then eventually when I stop making progress, I'll do a deload, which is a week where I basically cut the amount of reps and weight in half from that previous week. And it's basically like an active recovery. So allowing me to recover from all the systemic fatigue I've accumulated over the weeks while still being able to exercise and not just do completely nothing. I use the RP Hypertrophy app to track all my workouts, and it's great, but it's a paid subscription, and there are actually probably a lot of good free apps out there for tracking workouts, so you don't actually have to pay for it, but if you want to pay for one, I highly recommend it. And Dr. Mike and all the guys at Renaissance Periodization are not paying me to advertise or promote their app, although I wish they would. So I'm going to be going over one of the workouts from the program that I had done the other day and showing you me performing the exercises. This is my second week of the program, and I'll be showing exercises from that specific week and also the first week. And the reasoning behind showing you from the first week is because I brought my buddy along with me, and he was able to record me performing most of the exercises. So those videos actually came out better than me recording the other day awkwardly on my tripod, trying to set it into the perfect angle. So I'll be showing videos basically from both of those workouts, but they are the same exercise. The exercises I did for this workout were the standing chest press machine, the horizontal hack squat, the Viking press, the 45-degree back raise with added resistance, and the bent over barbell row with flexion. So some of these exercises you probably won't be able to do at a regular commercial gym, especially probably the first 3 exercises. I go to a private gym and they have basically every piece of equipment under the sun, so you can perform a ton of different exercises there that you wouldn't be able to do at a regular gym. If you're curious, the gym is called Lightning Fitness. It's in South Windsor, Connecticut, and it is awesome. There are so many giants there, and I would be considered actually one of the small guys there, which is pretty crazy since I'm 6'3", 230 pounds at the moment, and normally not considered small by average standards, but pretty small compared to most of the guys that train there. Actually, how I discovered the gym was I wanted to get back into training Muay Thai, and one of my friends is an instructor there. So I started training Muay Thai, and he's also black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, which I've been training for a while. So I started training Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu there. And then after about a month of just training martial arts there, I realized how cool the gym was, and I ended up getting a membership and starting to actually train there and quit working out at my old gym. So the first exercise of the day is the standing chest press machine. This is an exercise I really like a lot. I put this exercise first in this workout because I really want to emphasize my chest, because it's always been a lagging body part of mine, particularly the upper chest. Anytime there's a muscle group I want to focus on, I'll tend to work that earlier in the workout while I'm fresh and haven't built up so much fatigue, so I can actually work those muscles a lot more intensely and therefore get a better stimulus. With a lot of horizontal pressing movements, my front delts tend to take over, but with this particular exercise, I feel it a lot in my chest, which is why I really like it, and my front delts kind of take the backseat to it, and it's a good thing because I feel like my front delts are definitely overdeveloped compared to my chest. So you see my tempo for my reps is a lot quicker on the concentric and slower on the eccentric portion of the movement. The concentric portion is also known as the positive, and it's where the muscle is shortening or contracting, and the eccentric is also known as the negative, and it's where the muscle is lengthening. And it's been shown that the eccentric portion of the exercise is way more hypertrophic, meaning it will grow a lot more muscle. So I tend to try to slow that portion of the movement down and really control it and spend more time in it than the concentric portion. So most of the time when I'm performing an exercise, my rep tempo will be about 1 second on the concentric and about 2 to 3 seconds on the eccentric. You'll also notice on this exercise and most exercises that I try to get a full range of motion. You can see that I'm bringing my elbows back as far as it possibly will go in order to get the biggest stretch on the pecs as possible. And the stretch under load is also shown to be very hypertrophic. So that's another reason I do it. The other reason I like trying to get full range of motion is because it's kind of like loaded stretching. And I've kind of become very inflexible over the years, so I figure if I could take my joints through a full range of motion while performing strength training, then that's just only going to help with my flexibility. Since I have another compound chest movement throughout the week where I go heavier load with lower reps, this one I try to go relatively lighter with higher reps, where I try to pick a weight that I can do about 10 to 20 reps, somewhere around in that rep range. I'm not sure what the weight of the machine is, so I basically just count the total weight of the plates used. So in this second workout, I did 170 pounds for 15, 14, and 11 reps, respectively. And the fourth set, I did 160 pounds for 10 reps. The next exercise I performed was the horizontal hack squat, which is a really cool exercise. It honestly gives me, at the moment, one of the craziest quad pumps I have ever had. I also like this exercise because there's no axial loading on the spine, meaning there's no spinal compression. So let's say you were to do a barbell back squat, you have that heavy bar on your back and it's going to compress the spine, which can lead to accumulation of a systemic fatigue, where with this, there's no axial loading, and also there's very little stabilization component to it because you're basically lying flat on your back, so you don't have to worry about stabilizing your core, which is going to allow you to really kind of focus on hammering those quads even more. Even though I'm a tall man, I will still set the harness, whatever you want to call it, all the way to the bottom position in order to get the biggest range of motion that I possibly can. It just kind of sucks having to try to get in and out of it, and it's kind of comical if you try to watch me like get in and out of the machine when it's set that low. You'll notice that I position my feet lower on the platform so I can further bias the quads. And the reasoning behind this is having the feet lower is going to cause me to have more knee flexion, and the quads are the main function, or behind the quads is knee extension. So by having more knee flexion, I'm going to be able to further target the quads as opposed to having my feet up higher on the platform. So with most exercises, I will perform most sets close to failure. So going to failure means that you cannot perform another rep with good technique. I generally don't like to go to failure a lot because I find it harder to recover from if I take every set to failure, and it also slightly increases the chance of injury risk. So most sets, I'll usually go about 1 to maybe even 3 reps in reserve. And what I mean by reps in reserve is, for example, if you're going to 2 reps in reserve, that means you stop the set short of 2 reps where you could have done 2 more good reps. And that's how I normally train. And conversely, you don't want to be going like 5, 6, 7 plus reps in reserve, because then you're just not going intensely enough and you're not really giving your muscles enough stimulus and reason to grow. So you got to push yourself hard, but you don't always want to go to failure. This exercise is very taxing, and my quads were kind of sore before going into it, so I only did 2 sets. My first set, I did 240 pounds for 8 reps, and my second set, I did 220 pounds for 10 reps. And this is one of my favorite quad exercises at the moment, but I had to say pendulum squat is a close second, and at my gym, they have a few different pendulum squat machines, so there's plenty to choose from. The next exercise I did was the Viking press. This is something that you'll see a lot of strongmen do, and sometimes you actually see it in a strongman competition. And I had worked a lot of the similar muscle groups or muscles with the standing machine chest press, but my reasoning behind adding this exercise to this workout was I'd been neglecting overhead pressing for a while, and it's a movement pattern that I just want to get stronger at. So I figured I would just start incorporating it again. I like setting the handles on the lower side to really kind of get that full range of motion, which again, for almost every exercise, I try to get the most range of motion that I possibly can while still performing the exercise correctly and not putting my joints at a bad position. I tried minimizing leg drive and turning this into a push press because I really wanted to focus more on working the front delts and triceps. You can see here I tried doing a 1 rep max the prior week of 300 pounds, and actually if you add the weight of the machine itself, it's more than 300, but I'm not sure how much the machine weighs, so it's just 300 pounds worth of plates, and it was a struggle. So not counting the weight of the machine, my first set was 180 pounds for 9 reps. Second set was 145 pounds for 11 reps. And third set was 140 pounds for 8 reps. The next exercise I did was a 45-degree back raise with added resistance. And I do this mainly to target the hamstrings. I love this exercise for the hamstrings because when I get into that bottom position, I get like the craziest stretch in my hamstrings. Feels like they're getting pulled apart, and it's awesome, but painful too. Obviously, I feel this a little bit in my glutes and a little back as well, but definitely the majority of the stimulus is in my hamstrings. I like to perform this exercise by hinging at the hips when I go down versus just flexing my spine. And I try to keep my chest up, and this really allows me to kind of pre-stretch the hamstrings. You'll see a lot of people make this mistake when doing this exercise of hyperextending the back at the top position, and there's really no need to do that, and it just places a lot of undue stress on the lumbar spine. The cool thing about this machine is it has a selectorized weight stack, so you can just pick whatever weight you want, put the pin in, and then grab with the handle, and it's a lot less cumbersome than trying to add resistance by holding a barbell, dumbbells, or even just like hugging a plate against your chest. So the first set, I did 13 reps with 33 pounds. And the second set, I did 12 reps with 17 pounds. And I'll most likely add an additional set to the next time I do this exercise. The last exercise I did was bent over barbell rows with added flexion. Some people will just call it like a bent over flexion row or bent over barbell row flexion. You know, it's all the same thing. Basically, this was the first time I'd actually even tried performing this exercise, so I was a little bit reluctant about posting it on here, but I'm going to show you the video of me doing it anyway. I wanted to do a back exercise, but I really kind of wanted to target the spinal erectors since I feel like I've been kind of neglecting them. So I wanted to do a back exercise where I get some spinal flexion involved. I went super light with this one, just using a 40-pound barbell because, again, it's my first time doing it. And I also there's spinal flexion involved, so I don't want to be using a really heavy load while rounding my back because obviously that could potentially injure my low back. Of course, I could have went way heavier than 40 pounds, but for next week, I definitely go quite a bit heavier. I was running late for work, so I only had done 2 sets, although I wanted to actually get 3 done. I did both of them with 40 pounds, and I didn't actually even record the reps, but I believe each set was between 12 and 15 reps. And you'll notice I am standing on a platform too, and that's just to increase the range of motion that I can get on the exercise. So that in a nutshell is one of the 4 workouts I'm currently doing during the week. I hope you enjoyed getting a glimpse into some of my training. My plan is to continue to increase the load and or reps of each exercise every week until I can't do it anymore, and then I will take a deload week and then reevaluate the program and what my next steps are. If you have any questions about fitness or nutrition, then hit me up in the comments and I'll do my best to answer the questions. I'm pretty knowledgeable about this stuff, and I could even potentially write you up a workout program as I'm looking to start taking on some private clients online. So just hit me up if you're interested in that. So thank you for watching the video, and as always, stay strong, warriors. Peace.